It's a boo hiss for that then, isn't it?
It's not good, is it?
It's not good, is it?
No one wants very high pollen.
No, you want it all low all the time.
Anyway, that is it from us for this evening. And a moment, the ITV Evening News with Gamal Fambula.
But for now, from all the team here, thanks so much for your company. Have a lovely evening. Hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow. Do take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is a party election broadcast by the Conservative Party.
Good morning. Yesterday, we saw a Labour manifesto that contained no tax cuts, only tax rises. We know, on their own figures, that their manifesto would take the tax burden to a record high. But the truth is much worse. On top of that, we know the £38.5 billion black hole in Labour's unfunded promises mean taxes will go up by an extra £2,094 for every working family in our country. So, we know the size of the bill, but not how they plan to pay for it. Therefore, what's most important about Labour's manifesto is what is not in it. Not including planned tax increases in manifestos is standard practice for Labour. In their 1997 manifesto, Labour pledged to promote secure pensions. Then, 2 months after becoming Chancellor, Gordon Brown launched his infamous raid on pensions. The plan had been worked up well in advance of the election, but there was no trace of it in their manifesto. We don't want Labour to get away with it this time. In relation to each of these tax rises, Labour's manifesto deliberately makes no commitment not to raise them. If he wins, it's obvious that what Keir Starmer wants to do is cynically claim the books he inherited are much worse than he thought, as justification for imposing tax rises that he hasn't told you about. But this is disingenuous. The books are open. He can read them now. They are called the Independent OBR forecasts. So rather than hiding these tax rises, Keir Starmer should have the courage and the conviction to seek a real mandate from the British people by setting out the detail of these tax rises during this election campaign. But first, I want to remind you of our clear plan to cut taxes. Bold action that the Prime Minister set out in the Conservative manifesto published earlier this week. The next Conservative government will cut taxes at every stage of life. For younger people, we will abolish stamp duty for homes worth up to £425,000 for first-time buyers. For workers, we will take another 2p off employee national insurance, taking the total tax cut for the average worker since we began cutting national insurance to £1,350 a year. As we set out in the document we published today, taxes would be £58 billion higher under Labour than under the Conservatives over the next Parliament. But this calculation is just based on the formal tax rises Labour have set out in their own documents. And I'm afraid to tell you, there's more to come. Analysis of Labour's spending commitments, including 21 costings by Treasury officials, Labour's own figures, and costings from other independent sources, show Labour have a £38.5 billion black hole in their plans over the next 4 years. That will require Labour to raise taxes by £2,094 for every working family. Tax rises on top of those set out by Keir Starmer yesterday. People in this country have had an incredibly tough time with their cost of living after the shocks caused by COVID and Putin's war in Ukraine. We're just starting to turn a corner. The economy is growing, inflation is back to normal, and wages are rising. The last thing working families in our country need is Labour's £2,000 tax bill. There are, in total, 18 taxes that we have specifically ruled out, but Labour won't. These are the 18 tax rises that everyone at home should expect under a Labour government. These are the 18 tax rises that we refuse to let them do quietly. These are the 18 tax rises which Labour need to come clean about. That's why our message to the British people is, if you think the Labour Party are going to win, start saving.
That was a party election broadcast by the Conservative Party.